When anyone makes a decision to move from one state to another, it's already been one of the craziest decisions that anyone has ever done, especially when people are making that decision to move from Texas over to Washington, like I did myself years ago. Now the question is, why are people even deciding to make that move to the state? Does it have to do with the money that they're going to make by actually moving to Washington? And is it the cost of real estate? The common myth out there all over social media, we've all seen it, is that the cost of real estate in Texas is so much cheaper. But let's take a look at the monthly payment in comparison to see, is it really that much cheaper in comparison for your real estate cost? And to help you out even more, I'm going to give you my pros and cons on why I ultimately decided to move from Texas to Washington. My name is George Rodriguez with eXp Realty, and allow me a few moments a day to be your realtor. Now, what's the first thing that we all think about when we're moving from one location to another? And that's going to be the money, the financials, and how much it's going to cost to actually have a roof over my head, and what am I going to keep? How much am I going to make if I move from this state to that one? Let's get these answers. With some quick and easy research, you're going to find out that Washington State is going to give you a pay increase if you're moving from Texas to Washington. The average median salary in Tacoma is going to be sitting at $76,000. In comparison to Texas, where your current average salary is sitting at $60,000. So just by moving to the state, you're going to get a $16,000 increase. You're welcome. Now, of course, that does have a lot to do with the cost of living associated with living here in this area. And I'm going to attach a video link above to actually assist you in breaking down some sections of cost of living. But now, the most invigorating opinion that we're all seeing all across social media when we're scrolling on Instagram, yada yada, is the cost of real estate associated with Texas. But of course, we're looking at the purchase price. We're not looking at the monthly payment, and we're going to break down that monthly payment in comparison to which place is actually cheaper. Now, if you have an idea on which one's cheaper, go ahead and put a comment down below, and I'd love to see that answer. Now, of course, don't cheat, don't go ahead, but we'll find out. Let's just say we're purchasing a property at a 7% interest rate, and both are going to be at $500,000 for the purchase price. Let's use Dallas and Tacoma, Washington. Now, let's say you're purchasing a property in Dallas at $500,000 with a 7% mortgage rate. Now, the approximate payment before property taxes is sitting at $3,327. But your Dallas County property tax is at 2.06%. Texas in general is the fourth highest in the entire country. So let's pay attention to that. Now, your estimated monthly property tax is at $857. Add those numbers up together, and you're sitting at an approximate payment of $4,184. Now let's switch that over to Tacoma, Washington. Same thing. Your approximate payment is at $3,327 with a $500K purchase price and a 7% interest rate. Approximately for the property taxes is at 1.08% for Pierce County. Now, if you're going to be paying attention, that's half the cost of what you're paying for the property taxes in comparison to Dallas. Now, that changes a lot of things. So now your estimated monthly property taxes at $450. Add that up, you're going to have $3,777 as your monthly payment. The difference is $407 cheaper if you decide to purchase that property in Tacoma, Washington in comparison to Dallas, Texas. Pretty crazy, huh? But of course, the obvious rebuttal is that, of course, man, you get more property for your money. So let's just revert back. So just to match that $3,777 payment in Tacoma, how much cheaper do you have to purchase a property in Dallas to get the same monthly payment? Well, to answer that for you, it's going to be a rough estimate of $465,000. Basically, you have to take almost a $35,000 haircut just to match the same monthly payment as a Tacoma resident in comparison to that Dallas resident. I do have to correct something. I was off. I did say that Texas was ranked 4th in the entire country. I was being too nice. It's actually ranked 3rd highest in the entire country for property taxes. Now, in comparison to Washington, 23rd. Yep, they're always going to get their money. Uncle Sam is undefeated. Now, the biggest change that honestly anyone's going to feel when moving from Texas to Washington is going to be honestly the lifestyle and culture differences that is very prevalent and present when you decide to move from there to here. The biggest difference is going to be the natural beauty that is present when you're living in Washington State, because when you're living in Texas, you don't have any greenery. You don't have any grass. You have turf and rocks. Of course, it is nice because you don't have any maintenance. You just kick the rock back into your front lawn. And when you're welcomed into Washington, the moment that you exit the plane, you taste and feel the crisp air. You see the greenery everywhere, which is why it's known as the Evergreen State. So now that you have the coast at your fingertips, you now have the ability to have those water activities that aren't really present in Texas. Of course, you do have some areas you can hit, but let's be honest with ourselves real quick. It ain't the same. Now, the biggest change that any Texan is going to feel is going to be the weather differences that you're going to have in this area. Now, when you are living over there, you have shorts and tees. Over here, you're going to be welcomed with not only the beautiful summers and springs, but you're going to have that sweater weather in the fall that is completely unbearable. been defeated. But now in Washington, we do have, like, I guess they love the rain here a lot. So from January all the way to, I would say, early April, be expecting for the gloomy season where honestly it almost rains like every single day, it feels like. But you do have the option, of course, to not be outside. But unless you're in the military, because of course I was stationed here as well, it's going to suck. I'll be honest, because when you're outside and you got your cap on, man, the water just falls off the side. Come on, military members know what I'm talking about. It ain't the funnest thing, but hey, you do what you do. Then from late June all the way to August, you're going to have your summer months. Now this is where it's going to get a little bit hotter. Of course, our hot's a little different. It's going to be sitting around 80 to 90 degrees, 90 on the high end, and sometimes you get those crazy days where it's like high 90s, and then people are just tripping. So I would recommend having a home with a heat pump or AC for those little 3-4 months that you're going to need. But honestly, I'll be honest, the summer is lasting a lot longer every year. I mean, I guess global warming is a real thing and it's benefiting Washington State. From that portion on, you're going to have the fall months. Fall's going to range from everywhere else from September all the way to, I would say, late October, early November, and then it switches over to winter. We really don't have much snow that happens over here. Of course, I live in Pierce County, which is Tacoma, basically. And then if you think of King County in Seattle, Tacoma, Seattle basically has the same weather because we are the western side of Washington. In this area, it seems like snow comes every other year. And when it does happen, people just don't know how to drive. It's like the same thing for a Texas resident when it rains over there, because I guess Texas doesn't believe in sewage, or, they just dig deep, and when it rains too much, it floods everywhere. And honestly, we don't have those here in Washington State. One of the biggest changes you're going to see and feel is going to be the cultural differences that you're going to have when you move from Texas to Washington. In Texas, it's predominantly white, black, and Hispanic. But now when you're moving over to Washington, you get a melting pot of all of the cultures, and it's very apparent when you're living here. And also it's very apparent with the food selections as well, because with different cultures comes different food. But I'll be honest, there is nothing that compares when it comes to the Texas barbecue. So if any one of these Texas residents that are moving, do not hesitate to bring that with you, because trust me, if you bring it to Tacoma, I will be very happy and glad, because I do miss me some Texas barbecue. Time for a barbecue. If you are finding anything within this video at all helpful, do not hesitate to hit that like and subscribe, as it does help me and it does push this video out to others that could find this rather useful as well. Overall, your total quality of life is going to be completely different in comparison to how you're going to be living in Texas in comparison to Washington. Now, of course, you can take that with any other way in terms of how you see, feel, and want to believe. But when you are living here in this area, you do make more money, but of course, it does cost more to live here overall. But there is a lot of employment opportunities that offer you a higher wage of salary, and you can take that and do as you must. For the pros and cons, this is what I wrote for myself. Okay, now look, we're all different people. I'm a little special, so this is what I put down. Pros. Lower property taxes. For myself, property taxes is basically cut in half in terms of what you're paying the county that you're living in comparison to Texas to Washington. Next, I have higher salary expectations. You're going to make more money living here, and that's why it's so expensive. And you can take that how as you must. And honestly, I love the ability to have an understanding that you're going to make more money. More is never, more money, more problems. But hey, man, give me the problems. Cultural and natural diversity. Honestly, I love being in Washington because you get everyone's culture, and it brings a different way of thinking that everyone meshes in with. And honestly, I do like that, and I love different types of cultures at my table. Next pro is going to be the weather. Honestly, I was never a fan of the Texas heat, and that's just me being very honest. With Washington, you are getting basically every single weather season, but it does rain here a little bit more. So of course, you take some pro and con with the weather, but I love the weather in comparison to Texas. Now for the cons. Although you are making more money by living and working in Washington State, you do have to understand that the reason why you are making more money is due to the cost of living associated with making that higher salary wage. Now, of course, this is going to affect your salary in terms of how much you're going to be able to keep within house, but this is going to be the same thing no matter where you are deciding to live. One that you're going to face no matter where you go is going to be the adjustment period associated with living and moving to a new area. When you move from Texas to Washington, your body's going to be shocked in terms of how it's going to feel with the weather. Not only that, you're going to have the cultural differences associated with moving into the West Coast. Now, of course, it's not terrible. I survived. Everyone else is surviving. But of course, this is something that you're going to have to learn to accept and work through no matter where you decide to move in your lifetime. Last con is going to be the taxes. Honestly, there is no state income tax here, so you don't have to deal with that. I know that there's none in Texas and none here. We don't levy a state income tax, but the taxes in Washington, I feel like they're California Junior. Whatever California does, give it 3 or 4 years, and they're probably going to try and do the same thing. But with those taxes, for example, I live in Pierce County and King County as well, which is basically Seattle, Tacoma. they have a regional transit authority tax, which is the RTA tax. Basically, your tabs for your stickers on your cars it's crazy. You're paying like $500, $600, $700 a year for the stickers on your vehicle. Of course, it goes by the cost of value of your vehicle, but with the state, you always find that there's something else being taken out of your paycheck. And I'm just being totally real with you. But of course, there is benefits of that. For example, me being a veteran and those veterans above, I know that some have, some disabilities that do occur, like, mental health and whatnot. With that mental health, you do get the ability of having some PFMLA, which is the family FMLA to get away and, be with your fam. Now with this, if you do have some mental health illnesses, you have the possibility of getting 3 months off paid additional from your employer, from the state, to get that extra time to, recoup. Don't ask me how I know, but you get, paid 3 months leave. It's a beautiful thing. And honestly, this just happens to have some random stuff always taken out of your check for taxes. It just kind of is what it is. Everyone's dipping into it. Overall, that's going to be a lot of the reasons why I ultimately decided to move from Texas to Washington. And you can honestly use that as ammunition if you're thinking about doing the same thing. Now, if you are needing more questions to be answered, my contact information is going to be down below, as well as if you need any assistance buying, selling some real estate here in the area, I can gladly help you do the exact same thing.